Hey everyone, it's Seth here with another Q&A. If you want to skip to a topic, you can do so using the timestamps in the description. And if you have any questions for a future Q&A video, you can put them down below. Everything the Drug Classroom does is supported by donations, so if you want to support, please do so on patreon.com. I have ADHD and I'm taking methylphenidate, but I don't like it. I've tried Adderall before, but my doctor thinks Adderall is like meth. Should I try to get modafinil? First of all, it's unfortunate your doctor has that position on Adderall. That's not to say Adderall isn't similar to methamphetamine, since they are actually pretty close. But that's not a good reason to avoid prescribing it. This is a case of overestimating the harms of methamphetamine, not underestimating the harms of Adderall. We do have some evidence that supports the use of modafinil for ADHD, yet it's not approved for that use in the US. So it might be worth asking about modafinil, but I'm not sure you'll get a prescription. If your physician is opposed to everything other than methylphenidate, I'd recommend trying a different doctor. When did you try your first illegal drug, and what drug was it? And when did you try alcohol for the first time? The first illegal drug I tried was 25I-NBOMe. I believe I was 16 years old when I used it. Unlike many of my peers, I didn't try alcohol until I was 19. Is there a way to abort an LSD trip if it starts going bad? I read in Heaven and Hell that a person under the influence of mescaline or lysergic acid will stop seeing visions when given a large dose of nicotinic acid. Although I'm aware of people saying niacin will attenuate the psychedelic effects, I haven't seen a ton of support for it. There are people who've taken niacin during an experience without noticing a change, and there are other reports of it quickly reducing the effects, including visual alterations. The go-to method for reducing the negative effects of an LSD trip is to use a benzodiazepine. A common benzodiazepine dose should be able to calm the anxiety and even reduce the perceptual effects. This is typically what's done if someone shows up in the emergency department and needs to be calmed down. There are also non-drug interventions that can work. Simply changing the music or your environment can often help you get out of a negative headspace, though make sure you don't go anywhere that might be dangerous, and it's best to have someone with you. If pharmacological interventions are necessary, benzodiazepines are the typical recommendation. Is there a difference between ADHD and ADD? Going by the latest diagnostic criteria, ADHD is still ADHD, while ADD is called ADHD predominantly inattentive, or adhd-pi. The first involves a combination of impaired attention and hyperactivity. The second primarily consists of impaired attention. Someone with ADHD may be unable to focus in class and also have trouble staying seated, while someone with ADHD-pi could primarily have attention issues. The task switching behavior that's present in ADHD can show up with everything from daydreaming to fidgeting to moving around, while ADHD-pi is mostly just going to show up with cognitive symptoms like daydreaming and an inability to stay on task. These diagnoses are controversial, but I've seen enough evidence to know they exist, and pharmacotherapy can be helpful. Although everyone experiences inattentiveness and hyperactivity once in a while, those symptoms are more severe and impairing in ADHD. This is akin to depression. Everyone has symptoms of depression once in a while, but depression is distinct and has a greater negative effect on someone's life. It's a shame, as a society, we continue to refer to natural plant and mushroom species as drugs. Why is that? Is it because natural substances are better or safer? If that's what you believe, it's worth knowing they actually aren't. Synthetic drugs can be safe or dangerous. The same applies to natural drugs. Of course, an Amanita muscaria mushroom or Banisteriopsis caapi vine is not technically a drug itself. It's not as though chunks of Amanita muscaria are floating around your brain and binding to receptors, but I refer to them as drugs since the only reason they do anything is because they contain active drugs. I know a lot of people like to place plants in a separate category, but I see no reason to. If possible, I'd like to see the negative stigma removed from synthetic drugs so that people don't see a need for the distinction. Have you heard of the new Grey Death opioid cocktail that's going around? I think it's a ploy to get U-47700, or whatever it's called, banned. Gray Death is another case of sensationalism from the media. It's nothing more than a combination of opioids. The combination people are calling Gray Death reportedly includes heroin, fentanyl, carfentanil, and U-47-700. People definitely shouldn't be using that combination, but there's nothing special about it. Fentanyls and other opioids in the heroin market have been an issue for years. This is nothing new, and instead of needing more prohibition, we need more legalization. If people are going to use heroin, they should be getting pure heroin, not a random, constantly changing mixture of opioids and other adulterants. Although this is sensationalist reporting, I don't think it's meant to get U-47-700 banned. That drug was already emergency scheduled and placed in Schedule 1 in the US back in November 2016. U-47-700 will remain Schedule 1 under this order until at least November 2018, and it could be permanently scheduled. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, feel free to post them in the comments. You can also reach me via email at seth@thedrugclassroom.com. Everything the Drug Classroom does is entirely dependent on donations, so if you want to support, please do so on Patreon.